theater sponsorship. Thank you for your cooperation. So that's it for all the reading. I'm so excited tonight to introduce our speaker from Medicine Hat in Alberta, Canada, I believe. Is that right, Justin? Yep.
Yeah, you bet, yeah.
Justin is going to bring us a story tonight. He's going to tell us a little bit about how he got here and why he stayed. And you got to the top of the hour, Justin, so thank you for your service tonight.
Hey, yeah, thank you. My name is Justin Morris. I'm a gratefully recovered alcoholic. Quite an honor and a privilege to be here with you. And I'm not that long-winded.
Recording in progress.
I wasn't gifted with the gift of the gab, so chatting for 50 minutes might be difficult, but I'll do my best. I've been sober for 10 years. My sobriety date, September 27th, 2013. I don't know if you guys ever come to Medicine Hat. My home group's the Living Sober Group. We meet every Friday at 7 o'clock. We're trying to be the best group in Medicine Hat. You know, we're trying. It's located right by the airport, so if you don't like the meeting, of course, you got an easy out. You can get out of Dodge. But I was thinking, like, my sponsor, our stories are very similar. I mucked around Alcoholics Anonymous for a long time, like 7 years. It took me to get 1 year of sobriety. And you talk about the power of God and working through different avenues. You know, my sponsor, he couldn't get sober, but he met someone online in New York. His sponsor was a lady, actually, a lady, and he got the message contained in the book, online, it's, I've been to meetings all over the place, all over Canada, Hawaii, Montana, and the faces change, but the message contained in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous remains the same. It's a pretty good gig. I've been really blessed. I struggled for a long time. I never had, I grew up in a really good home, really, really good home. I have 2 younger sisters, a younger brother, and there's no trauma or abuse. I've been around AA long enough and listened to enough Step 5s and worked with enough people to know that the trauma and abuse is an unfortunate part of a lot of our stories, but it just wasn't for me. I had a really good life. I just had this nagging, sense that I didn't belong, all my life. This feeling like I didn't fit in, it was like God gave the instructions of life to everyone else but me, and thought it would just be funny to watch me flounder and swim upstream, even around my family, with the ones that love me the most. I just felt terribly insecure, and I just didn't feel like I belonged. And, my most people that I've met in Alcoholics Anonymous, deep down, there's a real sense, a real deep self-loathing. I just hated who I was and where I was and what I was doing, It was just this little ball of fear and this little ball of anxiety, and it didn't matter where I was. In high school, I became this chameleon. I could hang around with all the different groups of people, all the different, the people that played sports, the people that smoked, I could fit into all these groups, but I still didn't feel like I belonged. And my first drink, I was 14 at a grade 9 dance, a small town up here. And I probably could use one when I was 6 years old, but I waited till I was 14. And I knew I was described as a magic potion. I just felt better. I just felt so much better. I used to work with my dad. He was a welder and I was apprenticing under him, and we get a 6-pack. We drive home from 6-pack. We worked in the oil and gas industry, and he would have 2 drinks and he would stop. He would start to feel out of control. So he would stop. It was just such a foreign concept to me, because I would have a couple drinks and I would feel in control. I was setting out to feel better. That nagging sense of inferiority, that nagging sense of just not belonging. That I could talk to girls, I could be who I wanted to be. it was work. Like, alcohol worked. It was my friend. Like, it was my buddy. It worked for a long time. You know, until it didn't. I was, I was starting to think there was a problem. I was 19 or 20 or something, and I had lots of money, so I bought a ticket to Australia, and I was getting into things I didn't think I'd ever get into, and I was doing things I never thought I would do, and so a pattern that became very familiar in my life. I ran away. Every small town in southern Alberta, I lived in a lot of them. I was constantly running. When shit hit the fan, you just have to take off. I ended up in Australia, and the outside was different. I was around the beaches. It was nice out. There's palm trees, but the internal condition, I was still a wreck. I no matter where I went, there I was. I come back home, and I'm in and out of treatment centers. I don't know how many. I can't even, I lost count. In and out of treatment centers, and I met a guy that was going to take me through a job in Ontario. So drive across Canada. We're drinking, and I was electrocuted. I was pronounced dead on the scene, but they managed to save me. My family flew out. Everyone thought I was going to die. I was in a coma. Managed to survive, and I remember waking up and just feeling, I try not to swear. The message has depth and weight. It shouldn't include profanity, but I remember waking up and I'm like, why the fuck am I still alive? Like, how could this happen? And I flew home, and everyone's happy to see me. My family, my loved ones, and I make what was my last suicide attempt. I was 23 years old, and I ended up here in Medicine Hat. I woke up in the psych ward. I still don't know how I got there. To this day, I don't know how I got there, but I wake up and I'm introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous in Medicine Hat here, and I suffered enough pain. I became willing to do some of the work. Around here at that time, there was a lot of, and people don't say this maliciously, and I try not to knock. I'm not trying to knock anyone's way of doing things, but there's a lot of just keep coming back. Put the plug in the jug. We heard a lot of that, and it was confusing for me because that's what I was doing. Like I was going to lots. I wasn't exactly employable at the time. Lots of meetings, 3 a day sometimes. I would go. I heard a speaker talk about it once. If you don't have a sufficient replacement for your alcoholism, it goes underground and it comes up in other areas of your life. And I worked out like 3 times a day. I didn't have anything else going on. At 8 in the morning, I go work out. At 1 in the afternoon, I go work out. Anything to stop the chatter of 1,000 monkeys. And then I would get. Then I finally got a job. I got 2 jobs. I would work from 6 in the morning to 2:15, and then my second job would start at 3 in the afternoon till 11:15. And I just work. I was a workaholic. Just anything to stop the crazy thoughts in my head. And the scariest part for me was the little bit of time before bed. It was like I curl up in the fetal position, and I'm like, please just pass out from exhaustion. Like, please don't do anything stupid. Like, please don't get a drink. Please. The funny part was I didn't want to drink anymore. If you hooked me up to a lie detector test, I said I was never going to do it again. I meant it. Like I didn't want to drink anymore. But my solution to life was gone, and I was going to meetings, going to lots of meetings. But what I wasn't doing was the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm one of the lucky ones. Like I don't know what it's like where you guys are from, but we have every year we're going to funerals every year. We're one of our brothers and our sisters just couldn't see our way of life, and I was one of the lucky ones. I got back. So I ended up after those 7 years. I'm trying my best. I don't know what to do, and I end up going out and drinking for what was the last time. And I wake up in the cell basement suite and I'm Googling how fast does a bus have to go to kill you. There's this bus outside, but there was a turn. So it'd slow down for this turn. So I didn't know how fast it had to go. So I was Googling how fast does a bus have to go. And then I found my big book and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm presented with two options here, like a spiritual way of life, you know, or you know, a permanent solution to a temporary problem. When the alcoholic really has to think about it, you know, like I really had to think, wow, spiritual set of toolkits, or I wonder what's under door C. It's like this. It's like if you were, I've been very lucky, but if I was ever diagnosed with cancer of any sort, you know, I would sell everything I had, all my RSPs, you know, I would try any experimental cure. But you tell me I have alcoholism and here's a spiritual set of steps, and I really have to think about it, you know. So, and I've seen the miracles. Like, I knew it must work, you know. If there were 3 letters that kept me really from working the steps, but I'm going to be honest, it's the 3 letters of God. You know, the people I hung around with, people we ran with, we didn't sit around and talk about spirituality, and we didn't talk about the power of God in our lives. You know, I was really attached to what people thought of me. You know, and that's what the process of working the steps has done. You know, I came in for the last time. I was beat into a sense of reasonableness. You know, they tell me to believe in God, and fine, find a God, then I'll believe in a God. You know, that's the miracle of this program. It is like it works even under protest. I don't have to believe that this is going to work. I just have to do it. You know, it was explained to me, it's not a program for people that need it. It's not even a program for people that want it. It's really and truly a program for people that do it. You know, so I come in, and that first year, I don't know what is worse, active alcoholism or being a dry drunk. I really don't know which is worse. I was stark rave. I was sober, but I was stark raving mad. That first year, I asked 3 people to be my sponsor, 3 good friends, because I thought they'd take it easy on me. My fragile ego couldn't take the blow that I might have to hear. So I did the first 3 steps about 3 times. And on my 1-year sobriety birthday, there was a guy there, and he'd always say things like kind of irritate me, and he'd give me a little gut punch. You know, he became my first sponsor. And someone told me that they're like, when everyone shares anything with you, and you call them an a-hole, and you know, they really piss you off, and you go home and think about what they said, you know, that's probably your sponsor, right? So if I could have took those words out of my mouth after my 1-year take, I asked this guy, his name's Derek, I'm like, will you be my sponsor? And if I could have took those words out of my mouth and put them back in, I wouldn't. And he's like, yeah, let's get to work right now. So that night we did the first 3 steps, you know. It talks about in our big book, like, we launched on a vigorous course of action. You know, anyone ever see anything launch slowly? You know, we can get well quickly in Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't realize that, you know. I thought I was going to stay sick for a long time. I didn't realize that there was a really, really cool life out there, a really, really good life. You know, I've been so blessed. So we got to work, and, you know, these miracles started to happen in my life. Like, you know, I remember, you know, so step 1, you know, we made a decision, you know. Step 1, sorry, we're powerless, right? So it was explained to me, the physical allergy, once I've done puking and the booze and whatever else is out of my system, that's really and truly as good as my body's ever going to get. You know, now I'm just left with this crazy mind, you know, this obsession. You know, I remember when I was 18, I just turned 18, my friend turned 18, and I drove home drunk, and I hit a parked car, and I don't remember any of this. I try to stay away from my war stories, but it's the feelings afterwards I'm getting at. And I put my face through the windshield, and I ran home. I don't remember any of this. My little brother, he was 5 years younger than me, and the cops come knocking on my door, and it was just me and him there. I was supposed to be looking after him, and the cops are like, "Hey, is Justin home?" And my brother Cole, he's like, "Well, I just followed the trail of blood. There's blood handprints down in my glass in my face," and I realized, you know, something might be wrong. Like, I don't think normal, I don't know, like something seems wrong with this. Facing some pretty serious charges. And I made up my mind I'm going to have to quit drinking. You know, it's probably a problem in my life. So I'm about day 3 or day 4. I still have stitches in my face. And my friends come over and they're like, hey, Justin, you want to go out tonight? Like, yeah, like I could really use a drink, you know? I could really use some relief. I've been through a lot, you know, and that's kind of how I am. I'm like a relief-seeking missile, you know? Give me something to feel better, you know? So now the main problem for me centers in my mind, right? And that's where the process work and the steps. Like I'm just so lucky to have a place to go where I got other people that have a crazy mind like me, and I can get out of myself. I can get out of my selfishness because like I even when I come home from a day of work, and I'm coming home and I'm going to see my wife, and I'm like, Justin, do not talk about your day. Do not blab on about your day. Ask Sarah how her day was. As soon as I get through the door, I start blabbing about my day. You know, the selfishness is just so ingrained, right? So as I'm working through the steps, you know, I'm working through step 1, okay, and step 2, you know, and this is what was going to get. It's the spirituality of the God stuff, right? It's going to keep me out. People used to say to me, like, don't worry about God. Don't even think about God. And it was like, well, if someone tells you not to think about a banana, like, what do you think about, right? So they explained to me step 2. It's like this, Justin. There is a God, and you're not hit. I'm like, okay. I can wrap my head around that. You know, obviously something is working. There's these people out here. They're talking about God and they're talking about spiritual concepts and taking spiritual steps of faith in Alcoholics Anonymous. So there must be something to this, right? So then I dove in head first. Like I read Eckhart Tolle, Sermon on the Mount, you know, all these spiritual books. And I was trying, right? I would go out to the mountains, the Rocky Mountains, out by Fernie and Banff. And I would sit just by myself. I'd sit by a river and I'd read these books. You know, I'm trying to find God. You know, and it wasn't until much later that you know I just became not very convinced that I can find God on the outside. It's more of an inside job. You know, but I was trying. I don't know if there's a wrong way to work the steps as long as you work them. You know, you can have a deeper experience later. You know, so I'm trying. So I get to step 3, you know, and it's like to make a decision. All I have to do is make a decision. You know, I think one of the most important parts in the book for me, I think it's on page 63, 64, when it talks about, you know, this is the how and the why. That God is our principal. We are his children. You know, I had to quit playing God, right? And that's as far as I can tell, like what step 3 is asking me. I'm fired. I can't run my own life. I'm bad management material. And you know, as it turns out in real life, I'm a bad man. I was manager at a place here in town. I didn't do a very good job. I'm just not good management, right? Just take me out of the picture. You know, so that's like the steps. Every good thing in my life as a director is all working the steps and working the program. You know, so every single I have to do it. It's like the air I breathe. It's like the water I drink. I get down and before I even get in the shower, I wake up and then I do my step 3 and I go to bed. And I do a step 7, you know, I do the prayer, and I just have to. I'm just not very disciplined. Otherwise, you know, I remember the power of this program, the power of God in my life. You know, my family didn't want me around, and I showed up one day. I was drunk, and I dropped my little niece, Dylan. I dropped her on her head, and she had to be taken to the emergency department. And everyone told me to F off. They didn't want me around anymore, you know. Through the power of the program, through the power of working those steps, you know, that little girl, I didn't see my family for a long time, and she called me one day. She's like, Uncle Justin? And I'm like, yeah, buddy. She's like, can I take you into show and tell tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, you bet. What do you need? She's like, I've never met a boxing nurse before, you know? So that, to me, that's the goal. That's the good stuff. You know, I hear people talk about, and that's fine. You know, they bought a new truck, this house, and this trip, and that's all really cool stuff, right? And that's really cool, but that's not the good stuff for me. It's the relationships I have with my family. It's the relationships I have with the people in my life. You know, my family wants me around. If there's something to do, sometimes I drop whatever I'm doing, and my dad wants me to fix a fence or go weld something. You know, I drop what I'm doing, and I'm dependable. They know I'm going to be there. You know, like Like, what a gift, you know. Step 4s and step 5. At this point in the steps, I lose more people around here, you know, steps 4 and 5, and this look at me a long time. You know, you don't have to make a monster of this. It's just, I'm on a fact-finding mission. You know, I just want to find the stuff about me, keep the emotions out of it. Like, what about me isn't working, you know? And through that process, you know, when I did my first one, you know, I remember I was driving down. I remember all my life I had to have the music blaring to stop the thoughts in my head, you know, and I used to have that stuff going on all the time. And I was driving and the music was off and I was just at peace. And I could look the world in the eye again. You know, I was part of the human race. You know, I just felt like there was a sense of belonging. You know, I just realized I wasn't a bad person. I just did some bad things, and I continued on. It talks about in the big book, you know, you're amazed before you're halfway through, and I was getting really amazed. I was halfway through, and I was like I was getting kind of curious, you know. So we continue on. We're working through the steps. We get to step 6 and 7, and it talks about this separates the men from the boys, and I didn't quite get it. And I don't know. It's 2 paragraphs in the big book. I don't understand. You know, my sponsor would say, and Mark says to me, he's like, it's a simple program for complicated people. You know, all we're doing in step 6 and 7 is identifying defects. I didn't have a lot to do with them being there, and I don't really have a lot to do with them being removed. You know, it's the ones I find objectionable. You know, it's like, who wants to be rid of feeling better than someone else? You know, who wants to be rid of lust? You know, so I ask God every day, you know, like, what's blocking me from you? You know, the way I see it, like the more I stick to the book, the more I stick to the principles of the program, the better I do in life. You know, the farther I go, you know, the deeper experiences I have with people around me, the deeper experience I have with God, you know. So the real magic though happens around 8, 9. You know, so I go into the world. I can face the world again, right? And I get to go fix some of that stuff, you know. And there's just been some real magical stuff happen for me through that process. You know, I've just been so blessed. And my sister wouldn't talk to me for a long time, and she asked me to come help her move one time, and actually it's like a 5-hour drive. And, I do not want to do this, but we just formed such a good relationship in that process, you know. And this is where the magic really begins to happen, you know. But it's funny, you know, like, I'm sober today by the grace of God I didn't believe in, a program I didn't think would work for me, and people I didn't like. So, like, obviously I don't know what's good for me, you know. So the people that, I don't know, as I see it, the people that have done well in Alcoholics Anonymous, people that seem to get contented sobriety are the people that do the stuff they don't want to do, you know. So I'm feeling good. I'm working through the steps, you know. I'm living, you know. I'm a part of life, you know. I'm part of a couple different groups now. They're really cool things. Nothing's like working with someone. I'm part of I try to do something for AA every day, you know, whether it be general service or we'll go a lot of nooners, or you know, I just try to do something for Alcoholics Anonymous every day. And we're part of a step 10 accountability, or step 10 a step 10 group and a step 11 accountability group. So we're firing step 10s at each other all day, and step 11 comes, we let everybody know that we've done our step 11, you know. And the part of the program that keeps this crazy brain from going in overdrive though is working with another alcoholic. You know, I get to step 12 and I get to go out and help other people. You know, it's a pretty cool gig, you know. And through that process, I go anywhere a free man goes. You know, I go anywhere a free person goes today. I've been to Vegas many times in sobriety. I love the UFC. I love like fighting and stuff. So I go down there for fight weekends, and we have a really, really, really cool life. You know, I'm married, I got 2 kids, you know. We're going to Disneyland, taking a little bit. I've never seen such a happiness. If anyone's ever had children, you see their light, the light in their eyes light up, you know, and I get to experience that. I remember when my first was born 5 years ago, and I just had this amazing sense, like, of like tingle up my spine, and I thought two things. I thought, you know, never in my life would I give this up for the first drink. You know, never would I give it up for the first drink. But I would for the second, you know, I just know if this can all be messed up, you know, if I don't keep working this. I thought this was a one and done deal. I didn't really understand. I thought that you just work the steps and you go on and you marry Little Way and you go live life, eh? But it's a program for living, you know. It's a substitution, you know. So I just knew that I couldn't go back to that way of life. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, you know. I just couldn't, you know. You know, we go. I didn't sober up to sit on my couch and watch Netflix. You know, sometimes I need a little bit of rest, right? But I sobered up to go do cool stuff, to go experience life, right? Like we love camp every weekend, probably too much. We're out camping on the woods, at the mountains, or by the rivers, right? We just we do. Me and my family, my people in sobriety, you know, the people I hang around with up here, we do a lot of really, really cool stuff. You know, we're going to roundups and we're just experiencing life and just meeting people, right? And that's where the good stuff is. You know, we you know, if I live to be an old man, if I'm lucky enough to live to be an old man, I can't begin to scratch a dent in the interest that I owe to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's just been such a wild ride. Even the bad stuff, you know, it's like I get to go through that, you know, I get to go through job loss, you know, I get to go through all that stuff. The difference being now I'm going to fall and stumble. I'm going to have a program. You know, I'm going to make mistakes. Actually, the people we hang around today, we tend to make a lot of mistakes. Actually, you know, but we're doing stuff. I remember I was a couple years sober, and they told me get a service position. I didn't even know what a service position was. So I go to the district meeting, and I became the public information coach. And I didn't even know what that was. So we set up this AA panel to go into the treatment center here in town. There's the treatment center coming up, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just asking my friends to come be on this panel, and it created such an uproar in town. Why wasn't I getting asked and stuff, you know? And you know, we tend to learn through controversy, eh? So but I was trying. We were doing stuff, and we'll mess up, but I'll fall and trip, and I'll fall into the program, and I'll, you know, I've never been much of a marathon runner. I don't know if anyone can relate, but either I'm going 100 miles an hour or I'm not going anywhere at all, you know? Either I'm perfecting something or I'm not going to do it at all, right? So part of the process working steps for me is just becoming a marathon runner, right? Just slowing down a little bit, you know? If I miss a couple of days of prayer and meditation, you know, just do it anyways. You know, there are days I get on my knees and I'm praying. I don't even believe it. I'm saying to myself, like, this is the stupidest thing in the world. Just what are you doing? You know, I just do it anyways. You know, it's like, but when I first came in, there was so many. When I first came in, so there were these guys, and we would hang around the Tim Hortons, the coffee shop. I don't know if you have Tim Hortons down there, but a coffee shop. And we would sit there for hours. They were retiring. I was unemployed with zero sobriety, and I didn't have any shoes. And we would sit around for hours and drink coffee, and we'd complain about the big buck thumpers. Like, can you believe what so-and-so said? Can you believe what so-and-so? And I thought that was recovery, right? And I thought I was in sobriety, right? And I had no idea, right? And, you know, then they were so miserable. Oh my goodness, we were just so miserable. We'd sit around and whine and complain and bitch, right? And there were people out there that are like living this cool life, and I don't know. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. It's just been such a trip, you know. I don't know. Like, I don't know really what else to say. It's just such an honor and such a privilege to meet some of you on the journey of recovery. And you know, thanks for taking time out to listen to an old scrub like me. So thank you for your time.